very dark, resonant, beautiful sound. The sound was, I don't want to say a fixed sound, but meaning like the sound, it had its own sound. And the horn had its own color and vibe. And I was using a very bright setup to be able to kind of split the difference, like, you know, bright mouthpiece, dark horn. And a lot of people I know do that, and it worked great for me, and I still think that it's great, and it has its own way of doing, you know, sounding great and having its own sound and being a good setup. I, though, decided I'd rather have a mouthpiece that wasn't bright or dark, just kind of in the middle. And I started wanting a horn that wasn't bright or dark, just kind of down the middle, so that it could be up to me as to how I was going to really shape the sound and affect it. And I feel like it gave me kind of a whole nother level of being able to control the sound I was looking for. Because I know, like, for a while I was playing on a Silver Sonic because I really liked that sound and it was rich, but then I would go back to Summer because it has a really nice core to it, and it's like it's a very defined, you know, sound. And I still have a bunch of vintage horns because I think they're so special and I think they're so cool, and I think as a someone who plays saxophone, you know, I was way just like geeked up about, you know, the museum stuff upstairs because I haven't seen anything like that, and I've known Mark for a long time and he knows that I love saxophones, but from a historical standpoint, it's so awesome. And then, like, to be able to pick up an instrument and feel something different, it's so cool. But when I go to perform, I like to have something kind of set at like 0. And for me, it'd be like if I had a camera and I was taking pictures, and let's say you have a camera, but it's always set to like a really, like, you know, nighttime vision or something, you know, or nighttime exposure. But you might be taking something at, you know, 2 o'clock in the afternoon under the blazing sun. You might be taking something 2 a.m., but you're stuck with this one camera with one setting. So, like, to me, I have several, you know, vintage horns because I like to, like, feel different things when I'm playing, kind of more for fun. And you know, all the time at my house, I annoy my girlfriend like crazy, like I said, because, you know, she's trying to sleep or get work done or something. I'm a saxophone nerd, so I can't help it. But when I go to perform, I feel like something that is more flexible, more malleable. And I use the Yamaha. I like it, but I tried, you know, Mark, when we met up last time, I tried I think it was the 82,000 tenor you had too. And I know it's not for sale, so this isn't like a commercial or anything, but it's just like I had 82,000, and you're like, oh, this is like my favorite horn, you know, and I was like, whoa, it was just weird. But Mark's actually played a little different than mine. Mark's actually played, I felt, you know, a little, it was very quick and even, but it had a little less of the core sound in it than some. So I almost felt like his horn was maybe in some respects more similar to this than people would think. You know, so it's just interesting. It's very personal. But I think that as we start controlling, you know, our own airflow and whatnot, all that stuff can be either made better or worse, less important, more important. It's up to us. The other thing that I think is real important, and I had to deal with this before because I had my finger cut off as a teenager. I was working on my car. I had a 72 Volkswagen Beetle, and my right middle finger got ripped off. And they attached it, but I mean, when I say off, not like just like a couple paper cuts. I mean, it was off, and it was not a good time, and it really made me like rethink my technique because I wasn't able to have any, to be honest. I had to use the index finger to do both the F and the E key, while this one was in a pin for, you know, 6 months. And I mean, it actually kind of helped my career in the long run because I was on the Today Show and a bunch of other stuff, and I was actually in the middle of touring with Tony Bennett when that actually happened to me. And it ended up working out okay. I had to take some time off, and then I recorded on his Here's to the Ladies album, and I did that tour with him. And all I can say is that sometimes you don't really like appreciate how much, you know, something is cool till it's taken away. And I know for me, that's what made me decide I'm going to for sure be like a professional saxophone player, even though my whole family thinks I'm nuts. And my grades are pretty good. And my mom's like, you could be like a lawyer or doctor. And I'm like, well, I can't be a doctor because I faint at the sight of blood, as I've now learned. So the doctor's out of the question, even if I was passing the test and stuff. And so long story short, it made me really buckle down on where my strengths and weaknesses were at that time with my technique and how I could overcome it, because at that time I was still thinking I might not ever regain the use of this finger even. So like I basically realized something that I was doing that I noticed a lot of other saxophone players do as I talk with them. Like, when you make a fist, what happens? You close it. How often do people say, I'm going to unmake a fist? You just kind of like, relax, right? And your hand naturally kind of opens. I find so many people that they concentrate on pushing down the key as well as, it seems, bringing the finger up. And in my opinion, you should never, ever, ever, ever concentrate on lifting your finger off the pearl. They shouldn't move. If I'm playing a fast passion, I don't think my fingers are really moving off the pearl, and for sure they're not doing, a lot of times you see like this type of movement. That's okay, but you can tell, someone's actually, whether they know it or not, physically lifting up their finger off the pearl instead of just letting it happen, as opposed to. It should never be a thought to actually have to, just like it's never a thought to say, I'm going to unmake a fist at somebody. It doesn't happen. You might go like this, but you're not going to go, or at least that's my take on it. So, but if we just let our hands lay, they're kind of like semi-open, right? Which is, ironically, perfect for the saxophone. So if I could, if nothing else from today, if anybody that was concentrating on bringing up your fingers, if you can stop doing that, it'd make me very happy. Reason being is so many of my friends that are great musicians at different instruments have had problems with tendonitis, carpal tunnel, other things, and one of the sure ways to get that is by actually trying to use your muscle, which is meant to close something, to open something. And our muscles really aren't meant to, I bet money, a 10-year-old kid could probably come break my hand if I was trying to open my hand against his closing it. I might be twice as strong, 3 times as strong, but our bodies, our hands aren't meant to do this. They're meant to do this. If you even try this and try to open it, it's somewhat painful, and our body is going to stop ourselves before it does any damage. So just the idea that this is so much more powerful than this, I think is real important for us to keep in mind, because it probably will save possible injuries down the road from tendonitis and whatnot, but it also will make our technique 2, 3, 4 times better. I can pretty much guarantee. And every once in a while, for effect, especially like palm keys and some stuff like that, you'll see people bring their fingers off, the pearls more. But most people that have, to me, the people that are really happening players that have great technique, they're not bringing their fingers off too much. One other thing that I will say within that is it's very interesting just the way the saxophone and clarinet are set up. We have these keys that we're pushing down to close a pad to create a sound. But we have all these keys that have the reverse springs on them that we're pushing down to make something else open so that we get a different note. Now, tell me this. This goes back to more what I was saying earlier as far as having your own individual voice, individual sound. What do you think when I play this? They're both C, and one's the regular C and one's the alternate fingering with the B and the middle side key. When you hear one, here's the regular C. When you hear the alternate one, what do you think? What's some thought?
It's sharper.
It's much sharper here, right? Now, you can do different things to, change key heights and do whatever. I could bring it down a little bit with my lip, but when I'm not doing anything, the natural inclination for that note, at least on this saxophone, is for it to come a little sharp. Versus, now, what happens when something goes sharp? There's kind of a ripple effect that happens with it. Like if you throw a rock into a pond, yeah, it makes a splash, but you got all the ripples and other stuff coming around. There's a ripple effect of sorts with this.